welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're decoding a secret language, one that's written in wood. I'm talking about tree rings. And hidden inside them are these incredible stories about our planet. Stories of ancient empires, rising and falling, the real truth behind epic droughts, and maybe even a warning about our own future. I mean, just think about it for a second. What if trees could actually talk? What if those silent giants out in our forests could tell us what they've seen? Stories about ancient civilizations, devastating droughts, the whole rise and fall of empires. Well, here's the thing. In a way, they actually can. The stories are all there, literally written in the wood. We just had to figure out how to read them. And believe it or not, the key was found in places just like this. Ancient buildings holding clues that would unlock a calendar thousands of years old. So this is the story of how scientists finally learned to listen. All right, so let's get into how this all works. It all starts with a pretty cool science called dendrochronology. Yeah, I know, it sounds like a mouthful, but the concept itself is actually beautiful. You can think of it as the study of tree time. It's pretty simple, really. Each ring is 1 year. That means every tree is carrying around this perfect natural calendar, just hidden inside its wood. So every single year, a tree adds a new growth ring. And that ring tells a story. If it was a good year with plenty of water, you get a nice wide ring. But if it was a tough year, maybe a drought, that ring is going to be really narrow. But here's where the real magic happens. It's a technique called cross-dating. Scientists realized that the pattern of wide and narrow rings for a region is totally unique. It's like a barcode written by the weather. So they can match that barcode from a living tree to a dead log, and then from that log to a piece of wood from an old building. By overlapping them, they can build this incredible, continuous timeline that goes back thousands and thousands of years. So you take a core from a living tree, you find some older dead wood, and you match up those patterns, the inner rings of the new tree to the outer rings of the old one. You just keep doing that, overlapping sample after sample, pushing the timeline further and further back. And just like that, you've created a master calendar for an entire region. Okay, so we've built this amazing calendar out of trees. Now what? What can we actually do with it? Well, this is where it gets really fascinating. It turns out you can use it to solve some of history's biggest mysteries. And here's a perfect example of its power. Take the Aztec ruins. By dating the wooden beams in the structure, archaeologists were able to pinpoint its construction not just to a year, but to 2 exact phases. They could even tell which season the trees were cut down in. I mean, that level of detail is just incredible. Or how about this one? For centuries, historians have debated why the powerful Hittite empire suddenly collapsed. It was a huge mystery. Well, now we know. Tree rings from that area have given us a pretty definitive answer. A devastating 3-year-long drought, right from 1198 to 1196 BCE. It looks like that was a major factor that brought a whole empire to its knees. But it's not all about bad news and collapse. What's so cool is that tree rings can also show us the good times. For instance, in Mongolia, the rings show that the wettest period in over 1,000 years happened to coincide perfectly with the rise of Genghis Khan. It's pretty likely that all that rain provided the exact resources he needed to build his massive empire. And honestly, the applications just keep growing. People are using this science to verify the age of priceless violins and famous paintings. They're using it to figure out where the wood from sunken ships came from, which helps reconstruct ancient trade routes. And get this, it's even used to make other scientific methods like radiocarbon dating way more accurate. So it's not just about dating historical events. These tree ring archives give us something else that's just as valuable, an incredibly detailed history of our planet's climate. You see, because tree growth is so sensitive to stuff like rainfall and temperature, their rings are basically like super detailed weather diaries. They give us this amazing year-by-year climate record that can stretch back for hundreds, sometimes even thousands of years. Check this out. Sometimes a fire will scorch a tree, but not kill it, leaving a scar in the ring for that year. By looking at these fire scars, scientists can reconstruct the entire history of wildfires in an area. They can see exactly how often fires happened and how big they were, with year-by-year precision. And all that data reveals a really critical pattern, especially in places like the American Southwest. It's a 1-2 punch. First, you get a few wet years, El Niño years, and that causes a lot of grass and brush to grow. That's your fuel. Then a dry La Niña year comes along, dries all that fuel out, and poof, that's when you get the really massive, widespread fires. So, what do all these silent wooden historians have to tell us about the world we're living in right now? Well, this is where the story takes a really urgent turn. 1,200 years. Think about that number. According to the tree rings, the drought we've been seeing in the American Southwest since the year 2000, well, it's the driest 22-year period that region has experienced in at least 1,200 years. The rings also tell a story of a really tragic mistake. Back in 1922, officials all got together to sign the Colorado River Compact, which decided who got how much water. The problem? They based their numbers on the river flows from the previous 2 decades. And as the tree rings now show us, that was one of the wettest periods in the last 500 years. They basically allocated water that wasn't really there in an average year, and that's a mistake we are seriously paying for today. So when you step back and look at the big picture, you realize what we really have here. These trees hold a completely unbiased record of our planet. It's a story that's written without any agenda, without any spin, just the simple truth told year by year, ring by ring. So the trees have recorded our past for us. They're offering a clear-eyed look at the natural cycles of our planet. And a pretty stark warning about the path we're on now. The only question left is, are we going to listen?